Hello YouTube and welcome to another GV anime review, where today I am reviewing the anime Orange. Orange was the anime adaptation of a highly rated romance manga, so the source material was excellent. But let's see if the adaptation did the manga right. The story of Orange starts when 16-year-old Naho Takamiya receives a letter from her 10-year-older self. The letter asks Naho to look after a new guy in her class named Kakeru Naruse, since apparently something tragic will happen to Kakeru in the nearby future if she doesn't. And since the letter predicts events with 100% accuracy, Naho believes the letter and starts a difficult journey to save Kakeru. Difficult since Kakeru seems to have a lot more scars on the inside than he actually shows. So let's start with the romance. The romance between Naho and Kakeru is of a very mature level in Orange. Yes, this comes from a romance manga, but don't expect this anime to be super moe or we are in love and everything is perfect. Because of Kakeru's past and because of his psychology, he has a very hard time to connect with people, since he feels that he isn't worth them. You can see that they do love each other, but they each have their own reason to stand back. And that's where I want to critique some of the comments that I read on Naho's personality. In several videos talking about Orange, I saw negative comments about Naho. People say that she's dense and stupid, and why the fuck doesn't she just confess to Kakeru, since that would solve everything. Well, I see that differently. I try to look further than that. Everyone who has been in love before knows that just confessing normally isn't easy. If that person is really the love of your life, then confessing is extremely hard. And that's in a normal situation. Now place yourself in Naho's position. Not only does she love Kakeru, but she holds his life in her hands. If she fails, history is going to repeat itself and it's going to be her fault. So in my opinion, Naho isn't dense or stupid, but she was scared. She was scared to do something wrong and to push Kakeru back into this negative spiral. One scene that showed this was the bandage scene. In that scene, Naho went a little bit further and it backfired into her face. That's why Naho is so careful. She's just scared. She is the key to solving this all. Which brings me to my next positive point. I had never seen an anime before that deals with suicidal thoughts as mature as Orange. The way how they showed Kakeru's inner struggles and his wish to die was breathtaking. This anime showed how these people think and how difficult it is to help these people step away from their suicidal thoughts. Even if you try to make these people, being Kakeru, feel better, that doesn't mean that the suicidal thoughts will go away. Here, Kakeru showed progression over the course of the anime and everything seems to become fine. But then one small trigger could push Kakeru right back into the miserable corner that he was in and his suicidal thoughts resurfaced. Next I want to talk about two certain characters in Orange. About Hagita I can't say too much because it'll spoil things, but some people might have missed that it's Hagita who saves the day in the final episode. But the other character is safer to speak about. Would someone please give Suwa a statue and the title of best friend ever? Suwa was by far my favorite character of this entire anime. He is just so unselfish. He is one of those characters that sacrifices his own happiness for the sake of other characters. Suwa sacrifices his future with Naho to save Kakeru, and he doesn't hesitate a single moment in doing so. He really loves Naho, and this is a sentence that I used a long time ago in another review, but it's just so fitting here. Really loving someone is wanting that person to be happy, even if it's with someone else. Could there be a more fitting sentence describing Suwa? Suwa's love for Naho is of the purest form that you can find. Suwa was an amazing character, and I can't wait to see the Orange sequel movie, which apparently will tell the story from Suwa's perspective. I also have to say a word about the title Orange. I wasn't really blown away by the meaning behind the title, but it was still a beautiful conclusion or reveal of the title's meaning in the final episode. But it didn't completely blow me away like, let's say, the reveal of Your Lie in April's meaning. When I was 5 seconds into this anime, I said, whoa, this is well animated. I loved the background animation in Orange. It was so detailed and realistically drawn that I loved it right from the start. Also, as I said in my first impressions video, I loved the character design in Orange, and especially the eyes. The eyes were beautifully drawn and they made the characters look so alive. Now, for those that are thinking, what about the derpy animation in the latter episodes? I'll get back to that. And a final positive point was that Orange made the effort to explain the time travel to us. In many animes that have a time travel element, we just have to accept the time travel. But Orange went further than that with the many worlds theory of parallel universes. I was really surprised that Orange went this far and implemented an actual scientific principle into its story. But those who saw Orange must have felt the same way and found the time travel to be kind of forced. The whole Bermuda black hole story was a bit too extreme to stay believable. However, I must compliment Orange that it didn't use magic to explain its time travel, because that would have been awkward. And that it did give a partial scientific explanation, however it was ridiculous. And by the way, it also doesn't show us the moment that the letters were sent. But maybe that's a good thing. And as I promised, I get back to the animation. Yes, also I was thinking, is the animator drunk when I was watching episode 9? That far face animation was hideous. It was just plain horrific. And the strange thing was that it was only the far face animation that went full derp mode. All the other animation were still as beautiful as in the first episode. And as I said in many other summer reviews, it was a trend this season. A lot of animation declined in quality the further the anime itself progressed, and Orange was no exception. And as a final negative point, there wasn't a resolution on the possible relationship between Hagita and Azusa, not in the current timeline and the future one. Certain scenes, especially in the later episodes, showed that there was a bond between them, but there is never a sign that they would or wouldn't become a couple in the near future. So as a conclusion, despite the derpy animation in the later episodes and the bit forced time travel explanation, Orange was a fantastic anime. The story and the characters were so deep, and the dealing with suicidal thoughts was brought at such a mature level that lots of animes don't reach. And that's why I'm going to rate Orange at a well-deserved 4.5 out of 5 stars, with my stamp of GV's anime of the season by a long shot. Every fan of romance dramas have to give Orange a try. If you're going to find it half as good as I think it is, it's still going to be very good. When I think of other animes that work around coming to terms with your past and moving on in life, I quickly get to some of my favorite drama animes like Anohana the Flower We Saw That Day, Angel Beats and Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso. These animes feature characters that have some trauma from the past and they learn how to move past those and move on. This is one of my favorite kinds of anime and Orange fits into that theme perfectly. And with that I conclude my review of Orange. As usual, you can find the full list of all my animes and reviews over at Anime Planet. As usual, I will put a link in the description box down below. Now if you want me to review a particular anime from this list, please put it in the comments. Also, if you have a recommendation for me, put it in the comments as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, visit me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and subscribe to this channel for more reviews in the future. I will say arigatou gozaimasu and I will see you all in the next video.